We've got a new fusion coming up for Halloween, Timit the Fool. Let's take a look at him. Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video, and yes, we have that new fusion, Timit the Fool, coming in, and I thought what we could do is take a quick look at him. I think primarily you're going to want to use him in Arena, which is, I think, it's a good spot for him. How good is he going to be? Honestly, a little bit of mixed bag as far as I can tell. He's got some cool stuff in his kit, definitely seems to have some value. I do feel like you can use him in a couple different areas of the game. So let me break down his kit really quick so I can kind of explain why I think he's going to be good in certain areas. Then we'll take him for a couple trial runs in Arena and see what he can do. Thank you so much for coming out to watch this video. If you like it, please take the time, hit that subscription button, easiest way to support my channel. And if you enjoy these videos and don't want to miss the next one, hit that notification bell as well. All right, first off, obviously this guy looks awesome, right? I love the whole gesture thing here. Also, like, he's got that crossbar on his neck, which I think is pretty cool. It's kind of like he was arrested or, jailed because he wasn't very funny. So it's kind of interesting. The big mallet obviously is classic, but there's so much detail going into his visual here. I absolutely love it. He's got the little baseball bat, the extra mask back there, just the chains all around him. Kind of a cool design. That said, let's take a look at what he does here. So his A1 actually is one of the best A1s I think in this game, ironically, because it heals him for 10% of his max HP on a double hitter. So he's getting a 20% heal every single time he uses A1, which is pretty remarkable. Him being an HP-based champion as well means that that's going to be a pretty significant heal. Now, if the target has no active buffs, each hit also gives him a 10% turn meter fill. So it's potential 20% turn meter, 20% heal. That's pretty nice, I would say. His A2, AoE, attacks while enemy, decreases the duration of enemy buffs by 3 turns. That's essentially a full cleanse. It's interesting that it's not, though, right? It's a 3-turn decrease in the duration, which is interesting. But, I mean, for practical purposes, that's going to be a full cleanse, right? And then if there are no enemies with active buffs, grants an extra turn. Always grants an extra turn if Kaja the Rise on the same team, even if there are enemies with active buffs. So obviously, as a paired kind of champion, that's a really nice bonus to make sure you get that extra turn. And you'll see why, especially in Arena, having Kaja with him, I think would be really, really effective. But that said, this is a pretty good thing. That extra turn, though, that caveat, the condition for it, that there's no active buffs, that's kind of an issue when it comes to Arena, because there's so many buffs that are protected these days, and that can definitely be problematic. But if you find a situation where you can strip all the buffs and you can get an extra turn, it's a really strong ability because it can lead right into his A3 here. And this is attacks all enemies before attacking, places a 50% increase attack accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns, places a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. This is really nice, right? I mean, increased accuracy before the attack means you don't have to build them with crazy accuracy to get a good accuracy bonus on them. And the true fear means you have it's kind of a hard CC, but true fear is a 50-50 shot, right? So that's the only thing I don't like about it. However, with his passive here, whenever an enemy skill successfully activates while they're under a true fear debuff, fills Timit's Terminator by 10%. And if the enemy skill does not activate because they're under a true fear debuff, places a provoke debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. This is kind of a nice. That particular effect only applies when Kaja the Rise on the same team. So if you have Kaja, you can turn that fear and true fear can potentially become basically a 2-turn hard CC, or really I guess 2-turn soft CC, with the provoke there as well. So that can be a good way to lock down an enemy team. So some nice stuff in there, right? Being able to strip enemy buffs, give your team and yourself increased accuracy, some CC with the true fear. Definitely some nice bonuses here, right? It kind of reminds me a little bit of there's another champion here. Where is he? There's a champion that we used to have that would give us increased accuracy and also give us a fear debuff, but it was conditional. If I'm not mistaken, and I can't seem to remember his name whatsoever. Where is he? I know who this is too, but I can't, not off the top of my head. Anyway, there it goes. There you go. This is who I'm talking about. I'm talking about this feller right here, who I still can't remember the name of, but at least I found his picture somewhere in here. There you go. Yoshi the Drunkard, right? Yoshi the Drunkard had this ability, gives you increased action, increase attack, and places True Fear on all enemies for 1 turn, and increases when there's an increased attack buff. It's like a 50% chance up to 75%. I guess 75% up to 100 once booked, right? But that is a similar kind of thing where you're getting the increased action for your team and this debuff, the CC ability on the enemy. Yoshi's really good. So it's not to say that this guy, I think, very easily can be used instead of Yoshi, right? Yoshi has some passive abilities that makes him, cut in, which is really nice. Timit doesn't have that, but what Timit does have in addition is that buff strip ability, and that can be really powerful. So when you're trying to build a team, there's some interesting ways you can go about doing that. A couple things just additionally, right? Yoshi does have only 8 books, only needs 8 books, which for legendary is pretty low, especially these days. So that's kind of nice. The investment level is a lot lower. The question is really like, how are we going to use them? Where can we use them? And I think that becomes a little bit trickier, right? And I'll kind of show you why. Now, the way I had them built, actually, I guess I should show you that. The way I have them built is with a lot of accuracy and a fair amount of HP. Now, I also have them with a lot of speed, so I can kind of test them in a couple different teams here. So you can see his total stats, right? 295 speed, 93,000 HP, and 500 accuracy. So when he gets the accuracy buff, increased accuracy buff, that becomes 750, which is more than significant. 500 is usually pretty good for a lot of stuff anyway. Of course, I'm facing other CCs here because I'm on the test server. And so the threshold's considerably higher. So finding teams that I was actually able to beat is challenging. A lot of these teams kind of wiped the floor with me, to be honest with you. But we can get some kind of idea. Like I can go against Hell Hades. Now, obviously, this is a more of a go second to style team, right? Everybody else is slow. He's fast. I haven't built that way, but I think you'll get the idea of what he can do here, right? So taking the auto off, we don't go first, but we come in here after Duchess. We can go ahead. Let's try and strip some buffs. Boom. Now here's where that extra turn mechanic comes in, right? Stone Skin, 50% chance. Protected buffs, right? Those are hard. Those won't come off. So there's nothing I can do about that. But we do strip off a lot of the buffs that are out there. And I think that in itself is pretty successful, right? And then, it's just about figuring out what's the next move. Now we come in this turn again. We can put out that CC. Now we have increased accuracy if we need it. This team isn't really designed for that. Not something I have to worry about, but that's kind of the idea here with that. We can try and take out Duchess. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Hades' Duchess is extremely strong. So I'm probably not going to win this team, but you can kind of get an idea how you would use this guy, right? Obviously stripping those buffs, putting some CC out there can be really strong. If you have Kaja, that's only a benefit, right? As she's going to make those skills and abilities even stronger. Now, this is an interesting one. We've got the Emic, we've got UDK in there, Arbiter, Trunda. They're gonna go first on this. So if we can survive this hit, which I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully we can. But look, let's go ahead and strip all these skills if we can. Boom, full strip, extra turn, come in, full CC out there with the fear on everybody. Fear worked on Arbiter, great. Now we can protect ourselves from some debuffs. Look at that, all that fear that just went out there. UDK, of course, is annoying as can be, but that's okay. See how many folks we can kill there. There we go. And at this point, it's a wrap, right? That's how he can be used most effectively. So is this going to be good for everybody? Well, I think it really depends at what level and arena you're at, to be honest. Now, we have to understand, Stone Skin is very common, right? Bolster is out there, definitely. We have the blessings that can add these protected buffs. Any of those are going to prevent him from getting his extra turn. And sometimes, when I was testing this on a couple different fights, one of the things I was doing was making sure that I was choosing the right buffs at the right skill at the right time. And I think that's really important, right? We're going to lose this fight, but I think I'll give you an example. There are times where you want to do the buff strip, and there's times when you don't. Look, all those are protected. There's no buffs to strip. So instead, I'll just go with the CC and try and get as much true fear out there as I can. And then you notice they buff up, which is fine. So this is where I can come back around on our turn again and then try and strip those buffs off. So there's some flexibility, I think, in the way that you would use him. It's not, one simple approach to things. This team's gonna wipe the floor with this. But that's kind of one of the things I'm looking at when I'm building this team. Now, that's one approach, right? One of the things I want to see, there's a good option here. There's another way I could go, right? With more of a bomb squad here, right? Where we're using a couple bomb champions. We've got Arbiter to speed us up. And in this scenario, he's there to strip, not only to strip the buffs so the bombs can land, but also to ensure that we get that increased accuracy so my bombers can land their debuffs, right? Both those things are important. With all these champions, none of them are bad affinity for us, so we're going to go ahead and just strip all that. Then we can go ahead and drop the fear and give us the increased accuracy. And at this point, it's pretty much a wrap, as we're going to go through and blow them all smithereens. And that's it. That's all you got to do. That's simple, right? So it can work, I think, at certain levels of arena. When you're fighting in plat and stuff, I don't expect this guy to be anywhere near there. The buff strip is great, but the extra turn is a little bit, iffy. The increased accuracy is great. That does go off before his attack, so it will help you land things like True Fear. But I think there's better champions to land those kind of CCs as opposed to this one. Now, the one thing is, like I said, if you compare him with Kaja, that all of a sudden opens up a lot more possibilities as far as the approach you want to use, right? Because Kaja is going to ensure, here we go. Like, we can look at the skills here. Kaja ensures that you get that extra turn. You can strip regardless of their protected buffs and still go ahead and land that True Fear later on, right? And that True Fear will then turn into Provoke if the True Fear activates, right? So some decent stuff there. Kaja, of course, she's an interesting one, right? She's got the same kind of heal as Timit, except I think this heal works on both her and Timit, which is crazy. She's a big revive ability, which is really nice. So could be really good in a go second style team with her reviving everyone. Builds a Terminator of all allies, right? And a cleanse, 2 debuff cleanse, which is nice. With Timit, the full cleanse and a block debuff ability. So she brings some interesting stuff to the table, right? And her passive reduces Terminator reduction stuff. So the interesting thing about Kaja is, I think when in my go second team, I could use her in place of Pythion, right? I don't need necessarily Pythion there. I could use her instead. Have her go slower. As she has some abilities that'll boost her turn meter. Like if with Timid on the team, she's not only is she immune to turn meter reduction, but the enemy tries to decrease her turn meter, she'll get that decrease as a boost instead. So it's very easy for her to cut in. She has a full cleanse with a turn meter buff and block debuff. That's really nice. If people die, she has a full revive for the team. And if she revives Timid, he gets a full turn meter and full HP. So that can actually be really good. And instantly resets his A3, like the Kegs of Dread, the one that gives you the True Fear. So she's actually a really good combination with him. So if you can get them both, I could see that maybe all of a sudden becoming like, something you see in higher level arenas. I don't think this changes the meta at all. So when we're talking about, do we want to fuse Timit the Fool? I don't see any reason not to. I think he's extremely useful. Being able to fully strip, getting some CC in there definitely can be overpowering if you find the right teams to go against. But there's a lot of conditions, and I feel like the way the gear is going in this game, probably less useful than, it has been in the past. So again, do you want to fuse this or not? As always, if you have the resources, it's a legendary. Use it, absolutely. But of course, if you're a little bit hesitant, you don't spend, you don't play maybe every single day, you're not, the fusions are extremely hard for you or maybe just unenjoyable for you. All those are valid reasons, right? You want to play your game. I don't think you're going to be kicking yourself for not getting Timid. As you can see, I think most of these skills work really good in arena, but they don't translate super well to the rest of the game, right? Like, increase accuracy is always good. That's always good. But fear, provoke, very, very few bosses in this game actually can be CC'd. None of them, that to my knowledge, can be feared. And only a couple can be provoked, right? And the provoke only happens if you fear them. So it becomes kind of a, half that skill goes out the window. The stripping of the buffs is great. Not that many bosses have a lot of buffs, right? Just frankly, a lot of them don't. And even when they got minions, not necessarily all of them do either. So it's not something where I go, oh, this guy's going to be great in a variety of areas. Like, I don't see that. There's some potential with that A1 with a massive heal. Like, I could see him being able to solo something, but because he doesn't really bring any offensive skills to the table, I can't imagine it would be a fast run, right? You want him to solo Scarab, cool. It's going to take you 20 minutes, but I'm sure he could do it, right? Because he has an inbuilt healing on his skills there, regardless of what kind of gear you're putting on him, right? So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Timit outside of Arena. And I don't know that, first off, I think half of you don't care about Arena, much like I didn't for a long time. Half of you probably love Arena. I think for those of you that love it, this is going to be a great champion to get. For those of you that don't, you can probably do without, quite frankly. So, I always encourage people to do the fusions if you feel like you can. But for those of you looking for a reason not to, that was your reason not to. I just don't think he's going to be universally useful. Not going to change the meta. He's not going to do anything crazy for your account. So that's my review for Timit the Fool. Actually, cool champion. I wish he was a little bit cooler because, I like the look of him. It's just, he needs a little bit more. If we were talking about what could we do to make him just a little bit better, well, I would say make that extra turn, guaranteed. I would maybe swap the extra turn and the fear ability for the different skills, right? I want him to use the increase accuracy, then get the extra turn so that he can benefit for all of it, right? Strip the buffs and place true fear, that type of thing. I think that would be a better combination, quite frankly. Take away the condition of the extra turn. That would be good. There's a couple things that would make him considerably more useful, because if you can do the strip into the increased accuracy and true fear, that's a really nice combination. That's a really, really nice combination. But as I see it, it's just not a game-breaking champion. So that's it. That's my review. That's what I think of him. Hopefully you guys agree with me, but you know what? If you don't, that's okay. Let me know down below. I love to hear your feedback on this. Really want to hear what you guys think. Are you going to be fusing him? Is this a champion that you want or not? Let me know. That's all we got for today, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Till next we meet, the Deadwood Jedi.